Champions Postgame show. Thanks for stopping by. Hate to see you go. Welcome to the Postgame show. Welcome to the Postgame show. Break us down, build us up. Who stood on the head? Who fucked up? Break us down, build us up.
All right, and welcome into another edition of the Do Champions Postgame Show. I am your host, Matt Digert. I am here under the weather, but Don, how are you this afternoon?
Weather here.
Might help if I unmute you. How are you this afternoon?
Yeah, man. Thanks for making sure that was good. Yeah, I'm doing all right. Sorry to hear you're under the weather. I'm in some bad weather right now. It's pretty gray, cloudy here in not so sunny Tampa, Florida. But Bills definitely brighten up the day, right? Nice 40 to, we'll call it 14 points, but really, garbage time.
Yeah.
Killed a couple of the over-unders. Maybe people took alt-line parlays like myself. Oh well, they have to fight another day.
No, absolutely. So it was a big win for the Buffalo Bills today, 40 to 14. They lock up that second seed so that they don't have to. They can sit Josh Allen next week. We heard it a few times on the from Nance and Romo that it's very important for him for that consecutive game starting streak. So I do expect him to go through warm-ups, go through the normal stuff at the beginning of the game, play one series, and then hand off the ball and then be done. So with that being said, we've pretty much seen the last of Josh Allen, minus maybe one series next week. Until they play either the Broncos, the Bengals, or the Dolphins. Whoever gets in. That's going to come down to the final week. With that being said, Don, what did you see from this game today that impressed you about this win that is still a divisional matchup?
Definitely has to be the defense, right? 3 turnovers on the day, 4 total team sacks. Some of them at the end of the game didn't seem like they were recorded. I know you and I were talking about that before we went live here. So we'll kind of see how the final box score ends up. A safety, we haven't had one of those since Ed Oliver in 2022. Almost multiple kick returns for touchdowns. Seemed like a couple of them pretty close to breaking loose. No surprise in the flag fest that we saw. But overall, just a great performance by the defense as a whole. Definitely want to shore up that run defense. Still leave 113 yards on the ground in a game that was clearly out of hand for the Jets as far as running the football. So come playoff time, we got to get that fixed up.
Yeah, and that's really one of the main things that they do need to get fixed, and we've seen that all year, especially with the run defense. I expected them to give up a lot of yards, but they more gave them up at the end of the game.
Right.
with their backups in and everything like that. So I'd be curious to know to go actually back and actually see how many yards they gave up before Tyrod Taylor came or Tyrod Taylor came in, and they blew up a couple of those runs. So the Jets did,
right.
anyways. So with that being said, what is the what are we going? What are we going to? What are your outlooks for coming from this game in going into the playoffs? Because I'm not even worried about next week whether they win or lose, because it doesn't matter.
Can we maintain this high level play on defense, right? They've been living off of turnovers. We're plus 24, 25 in the season now in turnover differential, somewhere around that range. 3 more today. I think the biggest thing was, can we maintain this pass rush? 4 sacks today, multiple tackles for loss. It was something that has been a problem for us last couple of weeks. They were able to get after Rodgers quite a bit today. The Jets O-line's pretty banged up anyway. But I think they need to be able to maintain that pass rush come playoff time. It was nice to see Vaughn kind of flash a little bit. Groot, obviously. AJ flashed a little bit. So I think that's going to be the biggest thing come playoff time. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think the defensive line is what is going to need to step up come playoff time, and we definitely saw them, step up today. And I think that they had more than 4 sacks personally. For whatever reason, they didn't get counted. Because Von Miller's last sack, and then also AJ Epenesa's against Tyrod Taylor when it went over his head. That didn't get counted either within the stats. But no, I mean that's definitely the biggest thing is that the defensive line needs to still play at the level they played today and continue to get pressure on quarterbacks and continue to make life difficult for quarterbacks in the playoffs because you're gonna face either Bo Nix, who's a rookie who we know that McDermott is very good at, but he can move. He's very similar to Drake May. Maybe a little bit better of an arm, but he still can move. Maybe a little bit faster than he is. A little bit
played a lot more football and has a better offensive play caller. Right?
Has definitely a better quarterbacks coach and play caller in Sean Payton. So with that being said, they have to, and it's either going to be him, it's going to be Tua, or it's going to be Joe Burrow, and he's the last person I want to see right now with how well they're playing on offense. I think that the Bills could put up a lot of points and stay with them, but I think it would be a much closer game against the Bengals if they were to have to go that route. But with that being said, go ahead.
Yeah, and I think McDermott defenses have struggled a lot against those guys that are pocket quarterbacks but can move a little bit. I mean, it showed this year with Matthew Stafford. Jared Goff, can say what you want. That was a shootout, right? Same with the Matthew Stafford thing. But McDermott's never really been able to hold Joe Burrow under wraps. So it's going to be big to see if we do end up matching up with them, right? Can we get over the hump with the Bengals, potentially the Ravens, and then potentially the Chiefs? Like, we could have a gauntlet to get to the Super Bowl. So,
I mean, if they were to get through those 3 games, it feels like there's no way that they would not win that Super Bowl.
It'd be an unbelievable run.
Yeah, but I mean, it would be kind of fitting, right? Though, to go against the Bengals, to go against the Ravens, and then to go against the Chiefs, who it's like almost like the final boss, for them to have to get over that hump.
Exactly.
But I really would rather an easier path for the Bills.
Of course.
I would like to, we're going to most likely see John Harbaugh versus Jim Harbaugh in the wild card with the Chargers versus the Ravens. But I am very excited to see what this team can do with the running game with James Cook, with a fully healthy defense, for the first time in a couple of years.
A long time.
We haven't gone into they went into the AFC Championship game against the Chiefs a couple of years ago. They were healthy, but it's also their first time there.
Right. How often do you get to play everyone together at the same time?
Right, and it's their first time. It's their first time there. They have a lot of growing pains to go through. Still played a competitive game until it did get out of hand. After the third quarter there, but back then. But now you have a seasoned Josh Allen, you have a seasoned James Cook, you have the healthy defense. So I'm excited to see what they can do and to see them go on an actual run here, see if they can't make it to the Super Bowl after everybody in the media was saying for them to be by the wayside, that this window was closed, and Josh doesn't have weapons, and not that they're I would definitely say right now Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman, and things like that, or Mark Andrews are better than what the Bills have right now, but maybe not in a couple of years. But we're more worried about this year. We're talking about this year right now. I think Josh Allen did put up another game to keep him in the MVP conversation, as far as that goes. And I truly think he's more valuable to the Bills than Lamar is to the Ravens. But then now we have to talk about it. And with the MVP side of things is Saquon Barkley.
Yeah, I mean, he just hit 2,000 yards today on the ground in 16 games. That's a really impressive rate.
So I mean, and that's the thing. I mean, we gotta. I put this on Twitter. Do we need to put the asterisks there? Like, is it like kind of like baseball with Barry Bonds with not saying he has an asterisk, but that was the steroid era and things like that. So when it comes down to it, I still think the greatest running back season of all time was 1973 with O.J. Simpson with the 2,003 yards because he did it in 14 games.
14
Eric
games.
Eric Dickerson, 2,105 yards, and that has stood since the 80s. So, with that being said, if Barkley breaks this, technically in the same amount of games as Eric Dickerson had, he's only at 2,005 yards, right? So,
Yep.
for him to break that in an extra game, I don't know if I can really say that. Yes, they'll give him the record in the record books because it's still a single season, but I don't think it's as meaningful to the NFL record books as either OJ's or as Dickerson's.
Right.
But I do think that it means a lot to the Philadelphia Eagles in a sense of the value because I don't think if you have Barkley there and if they have DeAndre Swift still there, I don't think they're in anywhere near where they are right now as far as record wise. But I still think that Josh Allen is head not head and shoulders, but I think he's above both Lamar and Saquon Barkley in that sense.
Right, and I think
Go ahead.
ultimately, I think the MVP race, if I was a voter, which obviously we're not, but if it was me, I would ask myself, you take those three guys away from their team, which team wins the least amount of games? It's definitely the Bills. Maybe they squeak a few away just because their division is, the division's kind of been lackluster this year, right? But,
right, and that's the thing. Like
that's really the argument most people could make. You can't really look at stats last year because Lamar was, had a Tyrod Taylor season from 2020 or 2017 season, whatever that was.
Yeah, but I mean, and it comes down to it with that, that award doesn't mean as much if the Bills win the Super Bowl. Like, who cares at this point? The most important part of this season is to get to the Super Bowl and to hoist the Lombardi and to bring that championship back to Buffalo for the first time since the merger when they won their last championship. So, with that being said, let's get to the Cavness drive of the game. Cavness Family Taxi, definitely want to thank them for sponsoring this segment. Definitely give them a call, either through Uber, through their phone number. And Don, what is the drive of the game?
Yeah, for me, it's really got to be the first drive of the game, right? So it's not often you see the Bills take the ball after winning the coin toss. Maybe it had a little bit to do with the wind and direction and stuff like that, but ultimately it's not something we do very often. 12 plays, 70 yards, 6 minutes, 49 seconds, capped it off with a Josh Allen 1-yard touchdown. Yeah, we had a little help from an illegal contact on a 2nd and 17 about midway through that drive on Kincaid that ended up in a automatic first down for the Bills that really kept the drive going. But they really just spread the ball around. They started off with a incomplete pass to Knox, so now you're 2nd and 10. And I was glad they went to a run there, got 5 yards, and they went to Shakir, who was wide open. Nice schemed up play. Then you had the little penalties kind of back and forth. Then they went back to the ground. James Cook, before hitting Keon Coleman 37 yards down the field, which then was called back for offensive holding.
Phantom.
I would call it a phantom holding call.
Phantom offensive holding.
Yeah. But then they go right back to it. It's now 3rd and 13, and they find Mac Hollins on a 23-yard dig route right over the middle of the field, wide open. So feed the feet. Then we get they go a little big man, right? So Alec Anderson comes in. Ray Davis goes in, 3-yard run. Then another Hollins reception for 10 yards. Kincaid for 11. Now we got 1st and goal from the 6, so they go the fade ball to Keon. You would have liked to see Josh get that up a little bit.
Get it up a little higher, yeah.
Yeah, but, you could see Keon kind of saying, put the ball up a little bit. Ultimately incomplete. Then you get incomplete to Mac Hollins when you get another defensive pass interference. So you get 1st and goal on the 1. Alec Anderson comes in. Shout out AA. Capped off by a Josh Allen 1-yard touchdown, which ties the franchise record.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's 65, right, with Thurman?
Yep.
Yeah, we put that graphic out there, and it was kind of getting chippy at the beginning of the game. And you could really see the disdain that these two teams really have for each other, and it's not even really anything else because Josh and Aaron are good friends, by all accounts, through media and through everything else, and through what both of them have said. But it's almost like our offensive line and their defensive line hate each other.
Do not get along.
They
Dion definitely circles this game on his calendar every year, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think Clemens has gotten really chippy. I mean, you saw him jump on a pile, standing up pile, like unnecessary roughness at the end of a play.
Yep.
Like,
yeah,
this rivalry is good. It's fun to watch, especially when the Bills are winning it. But definitely chippy. We got out of the game with, I think, pretty much no injuries except for Alec Anderson. Had a low ankle sprain, came right back in. Absolute dog.
Yeah, and then he had, at the end of the game, he had a shoulder neck thing on his right shoulder. We'll see if that affects anything moving forward. But it's end of the game. I didn't expect him to come back, even if it was just a quick stinger or anything like that. So, definitely, that was the drive of the cavernous drive of the game. Check them out, Uber. Give them a call. I'll put the graphic up here in a little bit. But with that being said, I mean, I never felt that this game was ever truly out of hand for the Bills, or truly out of control for them.
No point.
So I truly think that, even when they came down on defense, and on their first drive, I never really felt that they were in jeopardy of anything. Unfortunately for the Bills, their tight end had a walk-in touchdown and Aaron Rodgers underthrew it.
Throws it at his feet.
Yeah, throws it at his feet. They could have walked in for that. But, I mean, all in all, the defense played very, very well today. They put a lot of pressure on Aaron Rodgers. We talked about, them getting to the sacks and everything like that, or getting to the quarterback. But they put a lot of pressure on him and in the backfield as well. And we saw that on that fourth and one play from like the 21-yard line on that first series, on the Jets' first series, and where they stopped Braylon Allen. Yeah, stopped Braylon.
Beat this guy right off the bat.
Yep. Stopped Braylon Allen for no gain and turned the ball over. Couldn't get any points on that or anything. The Bills didn't get any more points until they made it 9-0 on that safety. But again, like I said, even that 7-0 lead just felt like way more than that. Throughout the entire game. Would I like them to clean up some of the play calling and things like that, where but they seem to have schemed players open very well today. Against two of the better cornerbacks in the NFL, in Sauce Gardner and DJ Reed.
Sauce did miss about 2/3 of that game, right? I think he was, but either way, DJ Reed and Sauce are still two of the top corners in football.
Absolutely, and when you go through it with Sauce, even though he was out for I would say probably half the game, he still was in it for a half a game, and they were able to scheme things open. You saw Matt Collins wide open on that on the first drive to extend the drive. So there was a lot of things that they did well today. There are a couple things that need to be cleaned up, and we'll definitely put those things out there throughout this week, leading up to the finale of the regular season finale for the Bills, with going against New England. But and once we get our hands on the all 22, we'll start putting that stuff out and try and get through that. So. Don, we normally go through it every post game, every third and manageable, whatever. When we have a student on here, but we'll do it together here. What is your peak and pit of this game? That you saw, and then I'll give you mine.
Yeah, so peak of the game, kind of already touched on it a little bit. Just the defense, just getting after the quarterback today. That was just really good to see that. Last week on the post game, I say Tyler Bass as well. He was perfect again today. It seemed like everything was right down the middle. So, but yeah, it was definitely just getting after the pass rush. As far as my pit, it's still offensive efficiency. Averaged under 4 yards carry on the ground. Josh was 16 of 27. A lot of them was big plays, but just getting more efficient, getting the little things cleaned up as we head into the postseason. Obviously, it's going to have to be a lot of practice stuff since we're very unlikely to see Josh for more than a couple plays next week. But that's really my pit of the day.
Yeah, and my peak of the day was actually the cornerbacks and the safety room until the end of the game when they gave up those touchdowns. But I mean, Rasul Douglas being back, Benford on the other side, him jumping to get his second interception of the year was an amazing read on his part to be able to jump in front of Alan Lazard. You heard the broadcast say that he should have flattened out his route, and that's kind of what allowed Benford to jump in front of him. But Benford also ran the route with him and was right there to jump the route. So I think that they played a hell of a game today with three of the upper echelon receivers in the league between between Adams and Garrett Wilson and even Alan Lazard as that's a good third receiver to have. So that's definitely my peak of the game with them with the defensive backs. My pit of the game is truly exactly like you just said is the offensive efficiency. There are things that need to be cleaned up. There are things that are killing drives. Plays that are killing drives that still need to be cleaned up. Those are things that you might have saw in the first couple of weeks that we're still seeing here at the end of the year. Whether it's them not being able to get separation on plays, or whether it's not running right routes or whatever, we'll definitely have to take a look at that on the All-22 this week to see what those things are. But with that in general is truly the offensive efficiency, and to go along with that as a 1B is the amount of penalties. They have to be cleaned up as well.
You also can't rely on the other team putting up 16. The Bills had 7 today, but you're not going to see 23.
Yeah, and that's more what I was talking about, is they have to clean up those 7. We can sit here and joke around all day that it's a phantom hold or it's this, but let's not get into the position of making those things have to be thrown. Because it almost comes down to it where it's Spencer has that kind of tendencies within the league, so the refs are going to be watching him maybe a little bit more. So even if it's something that doesn't get called maybe on Dion or any other left tackle or right tackle in the league, Spencer might get it called more because of that.
Yep.
So
and to touch on the inefficiencies and the penalties, the penalties kind of put us in a lot of passing downs. The defense gave us a lot of short fields, but the Jets outrushed us today. We had 97 yards on the ground. In a game that we won 40-14, usually you see, the team that wins with 40, 200 yards, 150 on the ground. But so got to clean up the inefficiencies.
Well, and that's the other thing though too, is you have to remember is we would have. I'm telling you right now, if we go back and look at the stats, we had more rushing yards than they did before the last 2 series that they had, because they broke off multiple different long runs with Davis, the Jets Davis on their side. So. But we kind of knew, as far as penalties go, we kind of knew from the ref report that we put out, every Saturday. Definitely check that out on Do Champions, at Do Champions on Twitter, on Instagram. When we put that out, we don't put that out just to kind of say, this is another thing that it's actually been spot on the last 4 weeks.
It really has.
Like we can't really get away from that. This crew is one of the most flag thrown teams out there, or officiating crews out there. So I'm not saying you have to study the ref report, because who wants to do that? But if you take a look at it, you can kind of gear up to kind of expect a lot of those yellow on the field, those yellow regs on the field. So, but we kind of expected that. So. But with that being said, Don, what else are your takeaways from this game before we touch on New England real quick?
Yeah, I just want to touch on, I don't want to say it's the lack of separation, because that wasn't really where I'm going with this. I want to talk on the positive of that. The Bills won jump balls today. Keon had the deep ball that was called back, right, which he came down with on the first drive. I don't want to say Josh threw up a prayer that resulted in the Keon touchdown. but basketball background, came down with it. Really nice to see that. And then the Amari Cooper catch was unbelievable. That's why you go get a guy like that.
Yeah.
Right? That's why you go get a guy like that. Come playoff time.
Any more disdain towards Amari Cooper? Any saying anything?
Yeah.
I'm gonna flip out because that dude has done nothing but been a consummate professional since he's come in here. Not complaining that he's not getting targets or anything like that. Just going out there and playing his game. And when the ball comes to him, he's just making plays.
Yep, and I like to see the receivers aren't getting separation like Baltimore is, right? They lead the league in wide receiver separation, but we have 3 really big physical receivers now that I think Josh can count on: Cooper, Mac Hollins, and Keon Coleman. Keon's definitely healthy and back and ready. Kincaid looked good today. Knox is always physical. So come playoff time, physicality wins playoff games, both offense and defense, especially being able to run the ball. So I really like to see that from those guys today. Nobody had more than 3 receptions today. And Tyrell Shavers led the way on the 1 touchdown.
Well, and that's the thing you got to, not only did the Bills have the most points that they've ever scored by their team in their history, but they've also tied the NFL record again for the most touchdown catches, or the most players with touchdown catches, with 13. So, yep. Which is absolutely crazy, which kind of goes to everybody eats, right? So everybody is truly eating on this offense, and it can only go up from here, or continue to go up from here, which is gonna only help them in the playoffs.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised next week if Brady tries to break that record. Maybe there's gonna be guys in the game, maybe a big man touchdown at some point. Like like get Alec Anderson, maybe 6. Get Alec Anderson a little touchdown reception there. Or, I don't know.
Yeah.
Reggie Gilliam.
Yeah, let's put this game behind us because it was important as far as locking up that 2nd seed and being able to have our own bye, quote unquote bye, before the playoffs, and get guys healthy, get starters off the field, minus maybe Josh, like we talked about, with 1 play, because according to both Nance and Romo, out of Josh's mouth, it's very important to him with the consecutive game streak. So we'll see what they if McDermott can get him to just kind of sit or not,
hand the ball off one time and call it a wrap.
We'll definitely see.
Take a knee.
We'll definitely see, but let's get this game behind us and continue moving forward here. So next week we play the New England Patriots in Foxborough, in Gillette Stadium, and in a meaningless game for both teams, really. I don't expect to see a lot.
I wouldn't say it's completely meaningless, right? New England kind of needs to lose the game, right, to get that number 1 pick. And the Bills kind of want to win that game to make sure they don't get that number 1 pick, just being a divisional foe. I think regardless, they're going to get the first shot at any positional player they want. They'll probably trade back. I wouldn't be surprised if they end up trading back come draft time. But
well, they don't have Belichick anymore, so they're not trading back. No, I'm only kidding. But no, I mean, I don't expect a big throw them up, shoot them out type game. I expect Ramondre Stevenson probably to have a lot of yards. I expect a lot of the defense to be sitting down, so I don't expect to see your Von Millers or your Greg Rousseaus, AJ Epenesses. I expect to see a lot of Solomon.
The older veterans will see.
A lot of Smoot, Dwayne Smoot. I expect to see a lot of Dwayne Carter in there. Probably a lot of Jordan Phillips. Yep. Andreessen will be in there. So we could see a game where it's, I don't want to say, 200 yards of rushing or anything like that, but I don't expect the Bills to come out and win that game next week for whatever reason at this point right now. But it truly doesn't matter. I mean, I would like to say the Bills went 14-3 this year, but who cares at this point? They're not needing this game or anything like that, but the New England Patriots, Drake May continues to progress for them. Ramondre Stevenson takes care of the football and kind of fixes his fumbling issues from this year, which is very odd for him because he's been one of the better running backs holding on to the ball in the past. They have Javon Baker on the other side that potentially is you could see a lot of, because you're going to have Codrington and Ingram in there.
Elam probably
Elam in there. So we'll definitely see how that goes next week. We'll be back. We got shows for you all week. We got Coast to Coast on Wednesday. We got No One to Blame on Tuesday. Their recap show on Tuesday. Coast to Coast on Wednesday. And then on Friday with myself and Student Body Right with Third and Manageable. And then on Saturday we have Buffalo Blueprint and Hockey Hotline in the morning. So definitely check back with us, throughout the week, because we're going to put out a lot of stuff. But Don, do you have anything final before we get out of here?
Enjoy next week. Enjoy the Bills playing, I would say, a meaningless football game. It's not a real bye, but it's a bye. Everyone will get healthy, and let's see if the Sabres can hold on to this lead after 2, right? A winning streak is 3. So they're up 2-1 right now after 2 periods. So go Sabres, I guess. Not really sure.
Go Sabres, go Bills, and Don, it's good to be seen.
Good to be seen.